This is the MeatEater podcast coming at you shirtless, severely bug-bitten, and in my case, underwearless.
We hunt the MeatEater podcast.
You can't predict anything.
The MeatEater podcast is brought to you by First Light. Whether you're checking trail cams, hanging deer stands, or scouting for elk, First Light has performance apparel to support every hunter in every environment. Check it out at firstlight.com. FIRSTLITE.com. Joined today by chef extraordinaire Jesse Griffiths, but that's not what we're going to talk about first.
What are we going to talk about first, Steve?
Hi, Jesse.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on the show. Jesse has a brand new book out. It's a follow-up to the Hog Book. Was the Hog Book called The Hog Book?
That's correct.
The Hog Book. I got it right.
Yeah.
It's called
The Turkey Book.
The Turkey Book.
Master of clever book names.
No, well, it just comes right out and says it.
Yeah.
The Hog Book, if you're not already aware, the Hog Book's phenomenal.
Thank you.
If you're a hog book, if you're a wild hog naysayer, get the Hog Book. The Hog Book tells you everything you need to know. I'm talking to you, Southerners. Tells you everything you need to know about judging, processing, preparing, dealing with hogs, wild hogs.
Correct.
And I've remarked that I call Jesse the hog apologist.
Yeah. I love that, by the way. I mean, yeah.
But a turkey requires no apology. They're just good to eat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the Turkey Book is thick.
It is. It clocked in at almost as many pages as the Hog Book. I thought it was going to be a daintier book, and it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, it's elegant. It's thorough. It's beautifully put together. The Turkey Book. We're going to dig in with Jesse and talk about the Turkey Book, but we're going to cover some stuff first. You people joining us on YouTube, I'm holding a large, I don't know what you call it.
I think you're menacing. You're not holding.
It's supposed to be a Bowie knife.
I think it lays right in between a knife and a sword.
Yeah.
It's a
Which
Ducks
is what a
Unlimited
Bowie knife
Bowie
was.
knife. Apparently Cal put this in Seth's office. I came in and I'm like, the hell's that? Seth said, that's what everybody says who comes in here. Since Cal put it in there. And Seth pointed out that it's going to go in the auction house of oddities.
Yep.
Perfect for cutting up teal.
Now, you know, if you lie a lot, you get in trouble with the Gambling Commission, the FTC, or who regulates gambling? Like Barstool got in trouble because they had a sports bet called the Can't Lose. But you could lose real bad. But it was a joke. It was called the Can't Lose, and they got in all that trouble. Well, in the spirit of that, this is real gold.
Yep. Real
24
gold.
carats.
This is like,
off a fat bar.
is there grades of gold? This is the best gold.
It's a genuine
This is Aztec gold.
bluegill fillet knife.
This is from King Tut's private stash. This gold.
Handmade it.
King Tut handmade this.
And he even engraved the Ducks Unlimited logo in there.
That actually wasn't. That was his personal duck hunting sign.
Oh,
adopted by DU.
In his will, he wrote Ducks Unlimited can have this logo.
And Daniel Boone killed this stag. And Jim Bowie, as he went down fighting at the Alamo, while Crockett quivered in the corner.
We got to do this again.
While Crockett quivered in the corner, Jim Bowie killed several Mexican generals with this blade.
Seen some shit.
The provenance is
Yeah, we got all the
real,
paperwork proving all this. I just got to write it up.
Available to you
And
for the price of your choosing.
And this will be in the auction house of oddities. King Tut's gold, Daniel Boone's staghorn thing, and Jim Bowie's actual Mexican general slaying steel. I'm thinking about pairing it with my black powder 6-shooter.
That would sweeten the pot.
Which was gifted to me by the California Rifle and Pistol Association.
What are those people that reenact stuff called?
LARPs.
Yeah.
LARPers.
Not to be confused with a LERP.
With your pistol and that that their blade, they could really do some
They can
LARPing.
LARP their asses off.
That reminds me of Clay's illustration. Maybe he could,
Oh, should we put that in the auction house? No, that might piss Clay off.
No, we should hold on.
What else is coming up in the auction? We haven't picked our dates yet, but we got like other good stuff.
Well, I know like Wyoming BHA's bringing together some folks to provide like a real Wyoming adventure experience. Yeah,
For the auction house of oddities?
for the auction house of oddities. We typically provide some experiences, which schedule-wise we got to come together on and figure that out sooner rather than later what we can do, so we don't get crazy overextended.
Yep.
Some of your furs, maybe.
We're gonna put some of these furs behind me in it.
We have a FHF chest rig that's
Fur-lined.
The outer is muskrat, which I think we might have talked about that being in the last one, but just one thing led to another, and it's in this one. So
Yep.
Lots of good stuff coming up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Has like in your Corinne, in your like little deal, have we already released the Jeff Foxworthy? Has Jeff Foxworthy interview already gone up?
Mm-hmm.
When these people are listening to this now?
Indeed.
You know what Jeff Foxworthy told me before we started recording that's of interest? Well, a number of things that I don't want to share. But one thing he told me is he made me a coffee. And I said, do you got any milk or anything? And he doesn't. And he said, you know what? Because I like to hunt a lot, I forced myself to learn to like black coffee.
Really?
Because he said you always wind up somewhere and there's like some coffee, but of course there's no cream or milk. And that's how he always drank it. Milk, sugar. Trained himself.
Yeah.
God almighty, think of the time we would get back in our lives from MeatEater shoots if we didn't have the half and half conversation.
And the pressure that would come off whoever shopped.
Oh, yeah.
To be like, no. Get what you think is a lot and then double it.
Yeah.
Especially if Clay, because Clay just drinks it.
Yeah.
Like drinks glasses of it.
Clay definitely does a glass of half and half and a splash of coffee.
Yeah. So he flat out trained him, which I'm thinking about doing as I sit here drinking my cream and coffee. I'm thinking about quitting. I mean, I quit alcohol. I can quit cream.
I tried doing it for a while because Evan Hafer kind of shamed us that one time on that shoot.
Oh, yeah, but who cares?
And I was like, no, I don't care. But I was like, I'll try it. I just like it better with cream.
But it's a vulnerability, dude. When I think about the end of the world ending, all humans dying, you're going to be able to find coffee.
Yeah.
Not cream. You're going to run out of cream.
I met a fella at the Western Hunt Expo, Cafe Mule. Super nice dude. He gives away coffee in the Boise foothills off the back of some rescue mules.
I know this guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who's he give it to?
Just other folks hiking around out there. But then he's got a coffee company by the same name. He's another retired
he's former military.
Special Forces dude, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I communicate with him. So you met him?
Yeah.
He's a nice guy?
Yeah, really
That's
nice
good.
guy. But he's like, yeah, do you want a cup of coffee? I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And he's like, half and half? I was like, no, I'll try it.
He didn't try to shame you.
No, I asked too. I was like, because he obviously had it sitting out for everybody. And he's like, I don't care. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
If you're a fan of God's Country Podcast, and you're listening, if you're listening right now, you can go listen to the Luke Combs episode of God's Country Podcast with Dan and Reed Isbell. That's live right now. Go check that out.
Tomorrow.
Dude, if you want to know like an ongoing fight I have with Corinne, it's this.
But I put it in the
Holy
script.
God, good Lord. Okay.
Time is a flat
mind.
circle, Corinne says.
Never mind.
Meaning tomorrow at the time of this,
Yep. Yes.
when people are listening to this.
If they're listening to this right now, like if they're
There's a lot of moving parts at this company.
Oh
Steve.
my God. Well, no, this is the word.
If you're listening to this within minutes of it dropping,
You can see why they ever came out with live news.
Mm-hmm.
they're
You
like,
follow me?
They're like, we just can't handle
Steve
All the
really
moving
likes
parts.
pointing at
The
knife
delay.
at people.
Well, it's just that today this is airing on a Monday,
Mm-hmm.
and God's Country airs on Tuesday.
Yep.
And when this is out, the Luke Combs episode is on God's Country is slated to come out the day after,
day after.
Tuesday. That's all.
Speaking of live tour, we're going back out on the road for MeatEater Live. Starting.
April 23rd.
This is a soft announcement, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it. I
No,
can
we
cut
are.
this out.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
We're doing 10 shows coming up this spring. And you know what I just did? I just lined up turkey hunt for one of them mornings.
Really?
And I said, now there's going to be other people wanting to get in on this turkey hunt. I was actually talking to Dave Smith. I'm like, there's other people going to be wanting to get in on this turkey hunt. And he says, I'm already shutting the door, but I'm happy to help them. I'm happy to get them in the right direction, but we're going to have to spread people out.
Is this the
Because
first time?
everybody on that bus is going to want to be hunting turkeys on the day off. So listen, Dave, you better start working the phone and get more spots lined up. April 23rd, where?
In Mesa, Arizona.
Okay.
That's the first spot.
Then,
San Diego,
okay.
then Anaheim.
Then Anaheim, which is kind of like, it's like Disneyland.
It's like 5 blocks away from Disneyland, Steve. Trust me, I already looked.
Then,
Sacramento?
do you like Disneyland?
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Oh, he's probably when you're hunting, like he's gonna probably go to.
That was one of the,
Disneyland.
taking my kids there is one of the worst things I ever did.
Oh, it's awful. I love it.
The funniest thing that came out of it is we went there and then we went to Legoland. And so my kid he liked Legoland. And then one day I had a leg of lamb. Have I told this story?
No.
We're eating leg of lamb. Someone gave me a leg of lamb. So the whole time we're eating dinner, like leg of lamb, leg of lamb, leg of lamb. After a while, my little boy, he was quite a bit, he's like 3 years younger than he is now. He's like 5. And after a while, he's like, so what's going on with Legoland?
Aw. Hey, meatball.
We're going back to Legoland? No, leg of lamb. Not Legoland. Then what happens, Phil?
Sacramento,
Oh, that'd
then
be
Salt
fun.
Lake City.
Sacramento. We gotta get Greg Fonts rolled into that. Keep going.
It's after Salt Lake. Boise,
Boise.
Missoula.
Oh, that's gonna be fun. Because you know what? The Missoula show we're doing at the Wilma, and my old girlfriend, I used to almost like half live in the Wilma. My old girlfriend lived in the Wilma. Back then, they didn't have an
cool.
elevator. They didn't have an elevator.
Wasn't
You had
the
to
only
wake
one.
up a guy named Scootin' Newton. The elevator wasn't, you couldn't operate the elevator. If you wanted to get to your apartment, doesn't matter what time, you could be coming home from the bar at 2 a.m. Scootin' Newton would like sleep on his couch. He lived in this little apartment for free on the term that he ran the elevator. And he'd always be in there, a pair of Chuck Taylors sleeping on the couch. And you'd be like, Scootin' Newton. He'd jump up and then work like you couldn't operate the old elevator. And what's funny is the hydraulics were bad in that elevator. So when you stopped it, it would sink. And Newton was so good. You could tell that like no matter when you woke him up, he knew the drop. So he'd overshoot the room, throw the lever, and that sucker settle back down. And you could tell that he liked to land it as flush as he could possibly land it, so you'd be riding up and he'd start really paying attention. All of a sudden, like, ka-ching, and it drop down and he'd like level.
Nice.
But then they put in a regular elevator. So that's going to be fun because I'm like very familiar with that building. And what's that Bob Dylan tune, Tangled Up in Blue, where he talks about inside this building, the heat pipes just cough? Is that Tangled Up in Blue?
I don't know. You're asking.
I don't think it's Tangled Up.
Infinity
in Blue.
goes up
Could be
on
wrong.
trial. What's that song? Inside the music. Come on. Well, look on the internet.
Meh.
Look it up.
Well, it's so funny though, because like Dylan's thing from his critics is like, oh, he just throws out random, non-connected
Yeah, but that's
strings of lyrics,
That's what I like.
and that's what you're trying to get us to like. Which song was it for the random lyric? And you're like, well,
Yeah, because you can't say it was about.
right.
Yeah.
Inside the museum, Infinity goes up on trial is also in that song. And the heat pipes just cough. Anyways, you want to talk about some coffee heat pipes. The Wilma. It's fancy now. Then what happens, Phil?
Spokane, Washington.
On the lineup turkey hunt there, I can tell you that.
Then Portland, Oregon. And then Tacoma. I think Tacoma's the last stop.
Over in Phil's neck of the woods.
That's right. West Coast, best coast, baby.
Did you ever see it? I think it's in the Wilma somewhere now, but when they had there's a real fancy hotel that like during our time was not really operating. Then they kind of got it back up and they got some fancy restaurants in there. That was like down the block, 1 block from the Wilma.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think above the Wilma, there were hotel rooms for rent originally, but a big draw was fishing in the Clark Fork right there. And there's pictures of people who, stop on the railroad, come down to the Wilma, and then fish in the Clark Fork, and just these giant trout.
Probably bull trout back then too.
Bull trout and huge cutthroat too, I would think.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dude, we used to go. Oh man, I got so many Missoula stories.
The Florence, maybe? Florence
might be
Hotel,
right.
yeah.
We used to go in and tube down that river, get out, put in, tube down, get out on Higgins, go up and get ice cream. I remember one time laughing because we're coming back down. You can still see our wet footprints coming up the sidewalk when we got out of the thing. And then me and my buddy one time went and spotted a big old hole in the ice underneath the bridge on Higgins and found all these comatose crayfish. And as soon as they warmed up, instantly back to activity. And we cooked them up, but then took one crayfish and it's going to sound mean, but they regenerate their claws. And my roommate had a tank with one little crazy little frog in it, some kind of African white frog or something, like a little teeny weird little frog that he liked a lot.
So you dismembered that?
Well, we took the crayfish's claws off and let them go in the aquarium. And that son of a bitch eventually regenerates the teensiest little claw. And my buddy comes home one day and that crayfish is sitting on the bottom holding that dead frog in his one claw, man.
Oh, quick note on Bob Dylan. The Inside the Museum's Infinity Goes Up on Trial. That is from Visions of Joanna. That's the song.
So is the Heat Pipes then. It's a great tune. Anyway, we used to sit in that place listening to that on vinyl while the Heat Pipes coughed, which always sticks in my mind. Shouldn't be talking about that because that wasn't my wife. Live tour is going to be great. Cal's going to be there for a bunch of them. He's got some stuff he can't do, but he's got some dates he can do. Yanni's going to be there for a bunch of them. Spencer's going to be there for a bunch of them. We're going to have a trivia component. Or, even though it seems to be very unpopular, but people have to trust us, there's going to be the survey show people just generally hated the survey show, right?
Most people did not seem to like it. But again, the most vocal folks on the internet are the haters. So,
and in my house. In
In
the morning, people aren't raising their voice to talk about how much they liked breakfast.
What's survey shows? Or you're saying the survey shows?
We did a survey. So Spencer tested out recently, instead of trivia, he tested out a survey show where you survey a bunch of people, then ask people, let's say you did what percent of blank population believes in Bigfoot? And you got to guess. I told him the problem with the survey show was that you need to have a more tightly defined demographic that you're surveying.
Mm-hmm.
So at the live shows, we'll be able to do the survey game with audience involvement where we're going to survey the audience and then quiz people about themselves. What percentage of people in the room tonight believe in Bigfoot? More
importantly, the person sitting next to him, right? Yeah, that's great.
So
that's funny.
We're figuring that out. It'll be a riot.
Did you do the version where you got to bet? You got points, and then you got to bet those points, wager those points on how certain you were of your answer?
No, if you got an idea, you should talk to Spencer because I still don't understand how he scored it. And that seemed to be the main problem is...
Yeah, it was arbitrary number.
If you're 5 below, you get 4 points. If you're 4 below, you get 3 points.
It was just the further away
below,
from the correct answer,
points.
you would get less points. You know.
He needs to think through it.
Okay.
Corinne won. So she's loving that system.
Well, that was the weirdest thing about it is it wound up being that the better you are at trivia, the worse you are. The better you are at trivia, the worse you are at the survey show, because what happens in the survey show is when you ask me a survey question, I'm just going to tell you what I like. I'm like, well, I don't. So I'm going to put that no one does. And Corinne was more like thinking about what people think and not thinking about not bringing her own baggage into it. Like you'd be like, what percentage of people have inherited a gun, right? And you're like, oh, shit, I've inherited all kinds of guns.
Oh,
everybody.
my dad sent me the definite. Remember, we had a question about inherit.
Yeah.
Like, can you inherit something if someone's still alive? Was that you?
Yeah.
You can.
You can.
By definition, yeah. Oh. He wanted you to know that.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson.
Thanks for clearing that up.
You're not gonna believe this. This is dead true. I had a guy come up to me in Portland. We were at the Portland Live, the sportsman show, what's it called? Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, something like that.
Show. The dude comes up to me and he says, he explains he's a trial lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna think I'm lying. This is the truth.
Oh wait, has Jesse heard the background of the bean saying?
No, but there's a saying I made up that's really getting a lot of traction. It is. The saying is this: a fresh set of eyes will always find more beans. It alludes to pick and pull beans.
Okay.
Right? You know what I'm saying.
Sure.
A trial lawyer comes up to me. And now he didn't tell me what side of it he's on, but he said, I'm involved in a mountain lion poaching case. He didn't tell you. Presumably, I don't know. He's maybe defending the mountain lion poacher? I don't know.
It'd be hilarious if he was the poacher.
I don't think so. But the way I did get out of the story that wasn't the case. Anyways, he's involved in a mountain lion poaching case. And he said during jury questioning, when he's talking to his jury pool, he did not want to, with the other attorney involved, he did not want to introduce the idea that he's interested in who in this room hunts and who in this room might be familiar with certain hunting discussions and conversations. He asked the jury pool, are you familiar with the saying, a fresh set of eyes finds more beans? 6 people raised their hand.
Oh, that's a sneaky way
and
to
he
do
said,
it.
and then I had my hunters. Now, what he didn't tell me is did he want them out of the room or in the room? He didn't give me any detail. Was he trying to get them out or keep them in? But he said he didn't want to introduce that, and he didn't want to introduce his thinking.
Thanks to those 6 individuals for listening.
A fresh set of eyes. Are you
podcast.
familiar with the saying, a fresh set of eyes finds more beans?
That's sneaky.
That is.
It's also
That's
pretty
good.
interesting that this is going to trial.
Yeah.
Makes you really wonder what type of case this is. How egregious.
I feel like he was trying to get rid of people. Maybe? I don't know. Was he trying to get them in or get them out? I don't even know what side he was on. Here's one that Cal's going to... Oh, no, and a radiologist said this. Here's what a radiologist said. He's been using it a lot in the medical field. Remember I said it would have implications for finance? Turns out it has implications for medicine. A radiologist writes in, the first time I tried your proverb was on our breast imager. When I was in high school, I got a buddy that saw a sign for a breast imager and thought it was a breast imaginer. I'm not joking.
I'm laughing. Not because of that, but because you think that your made up saying, has implications in the field of medicine.
Oh, no, not implications. Could be applied in the field of medicine.
There you go.
I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah.
Application.
Yeah.
Applications and applications in radiology. A radiologist says, the first time I tried your proverb was on our breast imager. We were discussing an upcoming difficult breast ultrasound guided biopsy. You following? That we were having trouble with matching the MRI findings with what the ultrasound was showing us. She told me, this is his colleague, that she would repeat the ultrasound prior to biopsy, that perhaps she could find what I and the technologist couldn't find on the earlier study. I stated, oh yeah, that's a good idea. You know what they say, a fresh set of eyes always finds more pole beans. And she replied without pause, right? Huh?
And go get one of our pole bean shirts.
Now, this next bit we're going to talk about is dedicated to Cal, because we're going to return to Cal's favorite subject. Canceling Stellar.
This is greatly abbreviated. But
As we've reported widely, they're trying to cancel our Stellar, who was one of those old timey naturalists who had a tendency to name everything after himself. So he's like, "Hey, there's a
sea lion.
Sea lion. I'm gonna call that Stellar's sea lion. Oh, look at that cool looking J. I'm gonna call that Stellar's J." And now the Ornithological Society is trying to take any old white dude who has a name attached. They're trying to scrub him out of the naming convention. And a guy wrote in to invite us to consider what an interesting fella Stellar was in light of his impending elimination from the historic record. Stellar named a sea cow after himself, which is now extinct. In his The Beasts of the Sea by George Wilhelm Stellar, he talks about a fun little joke they would play. If they're cutting up, doing explorations on a Stellar sea cow, he says, if only a very slight aperture should be made with the point of a knife, the liquid excrement, a ridiculous thing to behold, would squirt out violently like blood from a ruptured vein, and not infrequently the face of the spectator would be drenched by this springing fountain whenever someone opened a canal upon his neighbor opposite for a joke. In describing the phallus and describing the penis of an animal, he says, the penis of the male is 32 inches long, and with its sheath is bound firmly in front of the abdomen and reaches clear to the navel. In a word, it is very coarse. It is very coarse and obscene to look upon. Very much like that of a horse, and ends with the same sort of a gland, only larger. I'm just trying to bring him to life.
He seems like a very interesting individual. German-born nationalist, first European to Alaska.
Who took great interest in native peoples and native lifeways and went out of his way to record those with respect and admiration. Brody, you ready to do your squirrel report?
Yeah.
Don't lose hope, Jesse. We're going to get...
I've been here before.
This isn't actually new news, but it's new to us. I'm surprised that we didn't hear about this earlier. So there's a black phase of gray squirrels, eastern gray squirrels, which most people have seen, right? Like you guys have all seen them. And I think the conventional thinking for a long time was that those were just melanistic squirrels, just a color phase, right?
Yeah. Like I have often told people, I've always told people that a gray squirrel will throw a black squirrel offspring.
Right.
And I've noticed that just growing up in our yard, I've noticed that there'd be years when you had mostly grays, mostly eastern grays, and then it'd be predominantly black phase grays. And I've always watched that, come and go. It's very anecdotal, but it felt like there was like this shift in and out.
Yeah, and you'd see, I mean, we would have some areas where there was none, and then some areas where there's, like, it was common to see the black ones.
Like you might
right?
shoot a limit of 5, and you wouldn't really think that much of it if you shot 5 black phase gray squirrels.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, you guys had more black phase squirrels up north there than we had down south.
But here's the thing. We also have more fox squirrels than you had down in the mountains.
And we had always had a mix.
Yeah. And it turns out that the fox squirrel comes into play for why there are black phase eastern gray squirrels. This is a study that came out like 4 years ago. And I'll just start reading here. Despite differences in coloring, eastern gray squirrels and so-called black squirrels are actually members of the same species, which kind of goes with what we were saying. But they owe their distinctive appearance to interbreeding between gray and fox squirrels. The fox squirrels carry a faulty pigment gene known to give some members of the predominantly reddish-brown species, which fox squirrels, gives them a darker fur. And this gene variant passed from fox squirrels to gray squirrels via mating. So that's kind of surprising. I don't think,
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
This came up because we're working on a sportsman's atlas.
Yeah.
Which would be like 100 places around the country that every hunter and angler should know about.
Yep.
And it's all just kind of maps and like specific weird spots and maps and like every known mammoth mastodon kill site, world record bass.
The weird story of Oneida traps.
Yeah, this weird kind of crazy sex colony that used to make traps. And then we're doing a thing about distribution of
a deep dive into
tree squirrel distribution.
Yeah. Like this article is not saying that these are like hybrid squirrels though. It's just a gene that gets passed into the gray squirrel population, which then pops up now and then. Something I don't agree with in this article is...
I don't know if I agree with any of this.
According to Mental Floss, I don't know what Mental Floss is. Must be some...
Probably like a publication.
Yeah.
It's a publication. Yeah. It's a good name. Like flosses your brain out.
Black eastern black gray squirrels are relatively rare, constituting just 1 in 10,000.
Oh, bullshit.
They're
talking about something different. I don't believe any of this anymore. I wish you wouldn't have done that report.
No, because they
Phil,
have
bleep out that entire report.
No, the part of it is this like DNA study that they did, and they identified this gene that's like it's real. Like they
you better do a little more work on that, Brody.
I'm just repeating the science, Steve. Just repeating the science.
I remember when I was in high school, we went up to Salamanca, New York. That was New York. It's right there on the border, I think. Turkey hunting, and every squirrel we saw up there was black.
Right,
1 in 10,000.
Well, I mean, that's the problem with science, the inconvenience of science. If they're not looking for the visible trait, they're trying to find the genetic trait. It's not going to necessarily jive with what you have. I'd learned a bunch about stone sheep and fannin sheep. What a bunch of bullshit that is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're like, well, how dark is the sheep? Right? It's like trying to find a black hair on a white sheep and then calling it a fannin sheep.
I got you.
I mean, boy, glad we got that taken care of. Science team.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
Cal's going to talk about something that I only found out about yesterday, but first I want to talk about this. I don't know how many people out there actually listened in the audience. Raise your hand. No, in this room. Raise your hand if you actually listened to Tucker Carlson's Vladimir Putin interview. Okay. If you haven't, you're not allowed to comment on anything. I listened to the whole thing to the bitter end.
Me too.
The way it's been reported on in the news is so insanely inaccurate.
Yes.
But one thing Putin left off was this. In Ukraine, there's this article that Heffelfinger just sent us. These archaeologists working in Ukraine. There was this nomadic group called the Scythians. They were like nomadic hunter-gatherers. And there's reference, like their enemies would reference that, they're like, watch out for the Scythians. They will make stuff out of your skin. And these archaeologists were doing, they recovered in these different sites, Scythian leather. And it's a lot of like stuff you'd expect, game animals and whatnot. They found a number of quivers made from human hide.
Wow.
You know? They would take their enemy, make a quiver out of human hide. I'd take that leg skin.
Yeah.
Make a big long pouch out of it.
Make a circle cut right at the groin.
Tube skin
I'd make
that
a circle
leg.
cut right below the knee. Take that bugger off. Just one run seam down the side, one seam along the bottom.
Look cool if you
Got
still have the
yourself a
foot
quiver.
on the bottom.
Auction house of oddities.
The Scythians were not people you'd want to mess with,
Oh man, no.
How long ago was these guys running around? They were finding this stuff in their burials. Southern Ukraine, the Scythians.
900 BC to 200 BC.
Yeah.
Oh, so a while back. Okay, Cal. Explain this deal with grazing with
Wyoming right now.
with hunters needing to be on the hook for the fact that elk eat grass, or like explain this.
Yeah. So most Western states have some sort of a system to reimburse landowners for agricultural losses related to wildlife.
Like crop damage.
Crop damage.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So there's two new things that came out of HB 60 in Wyoming, which is currently still in the House right now. So it's gone through committee. It's in the House. Next step would be the Senate. Those two new things are adding pasturage, the loss of grass, either on private land or state land, state grazing leases, into the list of crop damage, into the list of agricultural damage that can be reimbursed. Okay.
At what point, tell me when I can go like, that is so stupid.
And then the other part of this that is new would be raising the maximum allowable reimbursement from 100% of fair market value to 150% of fair market value. And the reason being that if you totally destroy a pasture, it's not going to magically come all the way back next year. So it's got more repercussions than just the year that it's been assessed. This is really coming out of southeast Colorado, where
Wyoming, right?
Oh, sorry. Yes, Wyoming, but it's where all the Colorado people hunt. So southeast Wyoming, lots of private land, but it's a public wildlife, right? It's elk and limited access to these elk. And this is, a big move saying that we want the Wyoming Game and Fish to immediately start knocking down these herds. So, which Wyoming Game and Fish has been on top of this situation. They're 2 years into, like an emergency 5-year management plan.
When you say knock down the herd, do you mean like sharpshooters
Population.
coming in, or do you mean like damage hunts where they?
Yeah, they don't. Nobody likes to talk about sharpshooters.
Right.
It's got a negative public perception, but they've killed
real bad shooters.
Yeah. They've had 2 culls, I think, that have killed like 148 cows. That are paid people who are going out there to eliminate elk, so non-hunters.
And across the road, some guy's paying $3,000 for a cow elk hunt.
Yeah. So in most Western states, like the way you can only apply for cash from damaged agriculture if you're allowing some sort of access. In Wyoming, it's defined as reasonable hunting access. But what is reasonable, right? And I think one of your quotes that I really enjoy is like, what is an objective herd size?
Yeah.
Like, it's not my objective as an elk hunter, but these herds are over objective by the elk management plan in Wyoming.
Sure.
Which kind of, is a ball that gets batted back and forth between all these interest groups, primarily like the Wyoming Stock Growers Association would be one of the main players here.
Yeah, if you're a hunter, I would generally be very suspicious when someone tells you that something's over objective, as though you're supposed to accept that as your reality, or you're supposed to accept that as your objective.
Yeah.
But this is also a place where like wolves aren't knocking them down. Hunters have very little access to them. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you one way to scatter some elk is hunting after them.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
They
Like,
learn that
I've
very
seen
quickly.
that
yeah.
They learn that very quickly.
Dude, but I'm like on everything. I'm a slippery slope guy, and I just don't like where
Right.
this is going. Like, okay, I get it on crops. I've never even questioned it on crop damage, and I've never questioned it on depredation of livestock.
Yep.
Okay. In fact, when I'm buying my licenses in my home state, I always click the box to add to round up and add money to depredation, to the depredation pool. But as a slippery slope guy, to all of a sudden be that wildlife eating grass that's not been planted, like, you know, when you're buying and selling houses, there's like pre-existing condition stuff. It's like, dude, I'm sorry, that's just a pre-existing condition. The good Lord's creatures are out there eating grass.
Yep.
Like, to have it be that you can now that you would be that you're going to have a state grazing lease and then come back to the state and be like, oh, by the way, your deer keep eating the grass, so pay me some money.
Mm-hmm.
And
come on.
There's a parallel story going on in Wyoming right now too that ties into what you just said perfectly, right? There's an isolated mountain range that Wild Sheep Foundation, bunch of other folks want to reintroduce bighorn sheep to this isolated mountain range.
Mm-hmm.
And there's ranchers out there that are saying, hey, we don't want you to do this because we know that the reintroduction of wild sheep will affect our grazing leases if we were to want to put out domestic sheep out there.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a known thing, right? So like National Wildlife Federation, wild sheep will go in and either at fair market value exchange domestic sheep for cattle and write out an agreement that when they do that exchange, you can never run sheep out here again in order to prevent disease transmission from domestic sheep to wild sheep. And I bring this up as a good example because here's a situation, isolated mountain range, for the lives of these livestock producers, there's never been domestic or wild sheep there. The introduction of those wild sheep will change how they have to operate their operations,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this other example, though, is there's been elk there for a really long time, generations of people. Those elk have grown. Those operations have been around those elk essentially forever. It's not the same as somebody trying to now force something upon everyone and they have to change their whole economic system around that introduction.
It's just been a constant.
It's been a constant.
And then what's funny too is if you go and look, like the other puzzling part about it is if you want to scroll through real estate listings are mighty quick to celebrate the elk.
Yes. Yeah.
In the alfalfa, there'll be a picture of the herd in the alfalfa.
Right. And
fields.
so
This hunter's paradise.
to make this agricultural claim that, oh, we hate these elk, we purchased this property specifically to raise cattle, you'd have to say, like, well, why did you choose to do it in an area where elk herds are 11,000 animals over objective?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty tough. Did your operation plan when you went to the bank include a shitload of high fence to keep these animals out? Right? It's like, no is the answer. But the nuts and bolts of this thing and why everybody should be concerned, even if you're not an elk hunter or a rancher in this area that's trying to graze cattle or grow any sort of cash crop, the way Wyoming is built is this fund doesn't get tapped out, meaning that the depredation fund, once the money's out of it, and right now, as I understand it, there's only one funding mechanism for that depredation fund, which of course comes out of resident and non-resident license fees. Like, so there's money that is earmarked from those purchases that goes into the depredation fund. Once that's tapped out, it can eat into the next operational budget and the next operational budget.
Within Fish and Game. So this brand new ask to fund this other huge part of agriculture, grazing, and the increased fees
are going to affect people who like to fish in the state, people who like to go to state recreation areas, people who like to, enjoy like the public access on private ground programs that are all administered by Wyoming Fish and Game. So is it right for this like fight against elk in this specific area to inhibit the ability for the state to manage all other aspects of fish and game?
There's a interesting, I think maybe it's an irony, feels like an irony. And it be like, hey, hunters and anglers, you know those elk that no one will let you go get at? Well, I need you to pay for what they're doing because I don't want you going in there and chasing them off and hunting them.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reasonable access thing, right? It's like, well, how much? I haven't seen a scale of how they pay this out. It's like, oh, if you're open to the public in like a type 1 block management system that we have here in Montana, then you're eligible for this amount of damage cash.
Got it.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen the scale of how they're going to determine all these mixed grass ecosystems for this 15%. So if there's 15% damage, you get 150% of fair market value of the pasture.
Mm-hmm.
Like how they're going to determine that, across the board. There's just a lot of question marks, but it's. I was talking to Hal Herring today, and it was pretty funny. He goes, it seems to me in Wyoming, ever since the end of the Johnson County War, they've been trying to figure out how to get state money back to private landowners.
Mm. An editor, a longtime editor at Outdoor Life, once said to me privately, I asked him if his farm is enrolled in block management. This is a hot tip for people that got elk problems. I asked him if his ranch was enrolled in block management, and he said, no, block management up here is a biological desert. Little hot tip if you got an elk problem.
Well, yeah, you'd be running some elk around. Unfortunately, I don't think. Block management's pretty awesome program.
Yeah,
I'm not hacking it. I'm quoting someone.
Right. I know. You want to move some animals off your property.
Is there something like this that's happening in other states? Like
Montana?
Would Texans ever have this, Jesse?
Well, Texans got way ahead of it. They made elk, which is a native species, a non-native species.
They made them an honorary. You heard of things becoming honorary natives? They made elk an honorary non-native. They stripped them of their native status.
Yeah, there's a real surge in elk hunting out west, but it's all private.
Yeah.
They wanted, like, Texans, God bless them.
I mean, West Texas. But.
Texans wanted to be like, hey man, I want to be able to like raise elk and do whatever I want to them, but I can't because it's like native wildlife and everything. So can you just make them that they're like, can we just say they're not native wildlife so we can do whatever we want? And they're like, sure.
Yeah. To put a bow on the HB 60 thing in Wyoming, I think the best thing, right? Because I am very sympathetic to some of these agricultural wines. And I want like the family ranch to stick around.
Absolutely.
Is just like table this thing. It is not well thought out. It's not well structured. The state mechanism for funding this is way behind the ability for this thing to function in everyone's best interest.
Here's why. Okay, you're right. I'm pro farm. I'm pro ranch. I'm a cows not condos kind of guy from a conservation perspective.
I'd vote for you right now if that was your stump. Go ahead.
I'm a cows not condos guy, but I said I'm a slippery slope guy too. If publicly owned wildlife, if people that own land need to be compensated for publicly owned wildlife eating natural resources and organisms that have been there for thousands of years, it's like, do you say, hey, some squirrels or something ate a lot of my acorns. I need some money. Or get these squirrels out of here. It's just like, how does this go?
Yeah. Well, okay. You remember
Do
a
you know
long
what I mean?
time ago
Or
when
like you're like a trout fisherman and you own a big stretch of river. You know what?
Those minks.
Otters and mink have been
Eagles.
eating my trout. Whose mink are these? The states? I need some money.
Well, the flip side of it too is like there's plenty of cows eating the grass that elk eat on public land, and
So the elk should bill them.
Well, I mean, they're paying for a lease, but is it a fair compensation for the elk food that the cows are eating? You know,
That's true.
That's what I'm saying. It's so weird.
Do you remember your example of like if you wanted to start a prosciutto operation in Montana and you decided like the Rocky Mountain slope would be the best place to hang a bunch of prosciutto out in the open air? Would the state then come in and compensate you for grizzly bears?
Someone's bears are eating all my prosciuttos.
We haven't even dipped into hog damage. Like, $2 billion a year in Texas in hog damage agriculturally. I don't think we have the budget to compensate for that.
No.
But I think that they would be able to. Hopefully, they'd be able to say that's not our animals, fish and game.
Yeah.
And elk, they'd be like, no, they got taken away from us too. All right, turkeys. Yeah, man. How long you been working on the book? I've been hearing about it for quite some time because I know how long books take.
Well, that's interesting because we wrapped this less than a year ago. So it actually start to finish was pretty quick.
Was it?
Yeah. No, I set out. I wanted to do another book, post hog book, and I thought first off I'd just replicate that with something that I was really interested in, that being turkeys.
Well, yeah. Tell me why you didn't do the deer book.
A lot of information out there about. First off, shitty deer hunter.
But a good deer cleaner.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. You've criticized me lightly on my deer cleaning. I leave the hide on the Achilles tendon.
Yeah, I don't like the way that looks.
Yeah, I know. This is an aesthetic argument we had one day.
No, you don't cut the tendon, do you?
No.
That makes me want to kill people.
No. The reason I leave I leave the hide on there so I don't cut the tendon. It's fail safe.
That's like people when you're cleaning squirrels with people when they leave that little ring of hair around the wrist and stuff. I hate that.
Oh, yeah.
Or on rabbits, you know that little growth that has the long hairs, that little mole?
Mm-hmm.
Squirrels have it too.
Yeah.
When you're cleaning squirrels in the sink after you clean rabbits or squirrels and someone leaves that little hairy mole. Ugh, I hate that. Anyhow.
Turkeys.
So you're not a good deer cleaner.
No, I am a good deer cleaner. I'm very, I'm fast. I think I'm very thorough. I love turkey hunting. And it's something I grew to love, but it's something I'm not. I would say I'm very, very far from an expert in. I spent start to finish about 11 years on the hog book, and then we completed this. And there's some photos in there that were taken.
Yeah, but did you know? Okay,
I knew at the time we were taking those that my next project would be about hogs.
So for 11 years you're like, someday I'm going to do a book on hogs and that'll go in it.
In that folder.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. And then kind of rapidly decided that I wanted to focus on turkeys and was like, I'm just going to kind of use the hog book as a template. And then really quickly realized for a lot of reasons, most often that there's a lot of really good literature out there. Just good writing about turkeys, obviously.
Yeah.
I can't really name a lot of books about feral hogs.
No, there's no Tom Kelly or Jack O'Connor of hogs, man.
Right.
Hemingway didn't hunt them.
Right. And so then that became apparent to me that it's like, don't try to do that. And so the course I decided to take instead was more of a journal and just document start to finish in one season just go on 4 hunts, try to get the most geographically different spots lined up, which was great for me too, because I'm not much of a traveling hunter. I spend almost all my time in Texas. And then in between, I was just going to experiment and see what stuck as far as cooking, and just cooked all these different ways. And so it's not a definitive book on hunting turkeys. It's not a definitive cookbook on turkeys. It's just new ideas, new concepts, and things that I came up with. There's some old classics. There's fried turkey in there. It's like the flagship recipe. But It's really just a slice of one season.
When you say fried turkey, what do you mean?
Slices of breast, brined, and not like a deep fried turkey.
Yeah.
We were joking around yesterday, and I said, "Man, it's like 400-page book. That's a lot of pages to tell somebody how to fry a turkey." Jesse's like, "It's the very first recipe
on purpose." I put that as the very first recipe. I wanted to acknowledge that because I think a lot of people, that's their go-to, and that's what they enjoy the most. And I always want to honor that and make people feel comfortable about the way they cook.
You don't want to fry shame people.
No, we've talked about that for years. Fried fish, objectively the best. And so I kick it off with fried turkey. It's my recipe for fried turkey, which I think is good.
What makes your fried turkey recipe different than everybody else's fried turkey recipe? Not everybody else's, but what differentiates? How do you like? Let me just put it this way. That's aggressive. How do you like fried turkey?
I like to brine it. Okay, I think that's pretty common. So there's a brine. There's a couple secrets in the dredge and the flour that you're going to dust it in afterwards.
Oh, you know what? You know what annoys the hell out of him? You know what you should have asked him? You should have said wet, dry, or dry brine.
Oh yeah,
wet brine or dry brine. That's his pet peeve.
Is it?
I just think it's a euphemism.
Yeah.
A dry brine is a rub. We've established that.
Misuse of words.
I would have loved it if Seth would have been dry brine.
Yeah. It is a wet brine.
Meaning a brine.
Yeah, a brine, otherwise known as brine.
A brine and a rub.
Yeah. And then it's dredged in flour, and I don't want to give it away. There's a couple things in there that I think.
Okay, well, don't. Yeah, but just you can still.
I'll give it away.
Well, no, you don't need to get into the little measurements and stuff.
Celery seeds.
Yeah,
and that's a secret taught to me by the Colonel, not Tom Kelly.
Colonel Sanders. Colonel Sanders.
The other Colonel.
That Colonel.
Yeah. That's a key component in there.
When we were on live tour, we had this bus driver named John. I hope we can get lined up for our next live tour. John, the bus driver, and I didn't really think about it, but he looks like Colonel Sanders.
Oh,
and he's saying one time he comes down his bus, and someone's just there's all kinds of, on a tour for musicians, there's always people coming and going all the time. One time he comes down the bus and there's someone laying there he doesn't recognize, sleeping. And they wake up and they go, "Oh, I love the chicken." And he said, "Those kids, what the hell kind?" And they leave. And he's like, it bothered him for days. And eventually told his wife, "The hell does that even mean?" She goes, "You look like Colonel Sanders."
I'm gonna help you out on not feeling like you're giving away the book, giving people reasons not to buy. We're flipping through this thing. It's and very similar to the outdoor cookbook that we're coming out with. The worst part about the marketing of this is it's going to live in just a cookbook category.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you could give this book to anybody and there's a lot of really good reading in there. There's a lot of good photography. There's a lot of reasons to enjoy this thing.
Almost like a coffee table book.
Yeah, before you would ever get to cooking anything.
Yeah, even if you knew all the damn recipes, just to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, because let me tell you something. No one's going to not buy your book because he told you how you like to fry turkeys.
Yeah, I know.
But you like to brine it.
I do.
So you cut it up or brine the whole big chunks?
I cut it up into strips.
Okay.
I think, that there's a certain thickness, about, finger size.
Like what your kids order in restaurants.
Yeah. That's a good size. I like to clean the silver out of the breast. I think you get a little bit less chew, and it's pretty easy to clean that out.
Yeah.
And then, brine that. Maybe go in a little acidic, something like a buttermilk, yogurt, whatever you got. It also helps the dredge stick. And then you dredge it in flour, a little bit of celery seeds and some other things.
And fry
Black
her up.
pepper.
What temp you like to fry her at?
350, hot. And then, I'm always, I like to fry in beef fat a lot.
Sure, man.
Beef fat or lard, but definitely the preference would be beef fat.
If you could only fry at one temperature for the rest of your life,
350.
See, man, I was brought up with 375, man.
What is that difference?
I don't know. When I was a kid, my old man make you go to the garage where he kept his fryer. And he'd make you turn it on, but you had to stay there till the light blinked out and then go down and notify him.
Yeah.
So if he told you to go turn the fryer on, you're like, okay, here's 18 minutes of my life. And you get to turn it on, and then click, run down. It's on.
Man, you got me. I don't know. I'm gonna recant. I'm gonna
He's
go.
a 375 man,
I'm
and I'm a 375
I'm
man.
gonna go back to that because I think about potatoes and things like that, and you're right. It is probably it's 375.
What do you like to do a catfish at?
375.
You do?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I like catfish to be very thinly sliced. Fine cornmeal. We've established that.
to cook the mud out of it.
Well, we bleed our catfish and bleed them and throw them into a ice bath, and that makes worlds and worlds of difference. So immediately, we mostly trot lining these days. Pull them off, cut their gills, wring their tail, throw them in a cooler full of ice and water. They're dead in a couple minutes, and the bloodline disappears. And then we fillet them, and then slice them on the bias against the grain and fry that. And that is phenomenal.
My Alaska mentor, he used to, when he's bleeding halibut, he'd always cut their tail.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to tease him like it's got like vapor lock or something. Like there's like a vacuum in there that you're like releasing when you cut its tail. Like I've never understood. Nothing comes out of there.
Oh, I've seen like blood come out of a catfish tail.
Oh, right. What do you think? There's it's like putting your finger over the end of a straw. Unless you cut the tail, then it can finally like fall out, you know?
Yeah.
When you're frying like that, turkey or whatever, let's say turkey, catfish, anything, have you gotten where you watch the bubbles? Like the bubbles mean a lot to me.
Yeah,
man.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
When it
Lay
stops
that out
making
for
as much
people.
noise, you mean?
No, like picture you put it in and you think for a minute how your fryer's going to overflow.
Yeah.
Now, if you left it in there
just
an hour
slowly-
and come back, there ain't no bubbles coming off
No.
there because that's moisture coming out.
Yeah.
It
Right.
slowly dissipates.
So how do you, like, what in your book, for instance, when you're saying, how do you tell folks, do you tell them let it fry for blank minutes? Or do you tell them let them fry till the bubbles seem to have slowed down?
I don't give a bubble reference in the book. It's more of a time reference. And if you cut it to a certain size and then you give a frying temperature, it's easier to assign a time to that. But also, it's going to start to float. You don't want. I mean, fully floating is probably going to be fairly dry.
Yep.
But start to like float and kind of swim around, and small bubbles. It's just like when you're rendering fats.
Yeah.
I always tell people it should look like a light beer. It should be like a pale straw color with tiny bubbles, and that's when you got all the moisture cooked out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have those big, the moisture coming out in those big like kind of bulbous bubbles. Instead, you've got those little pinpoint bubbles. And you got that pale straw color, and that's when you've got it totally rendered.
Yeah. You put that celery seed on there, sprinkled on, and you don't mix it. You don't mix it into your cornmeal, do you?
For turkeys, it goes into flour, not cornmeal.
Oh.
Yeah, no, all-purpose
But
flour.
you don't put it on the meat. You put it in the flour.
In the flour. Yeah. So black pepper, celery goes on there, fried, and then you have your gravy, your mashed potatoes, your greens.
Yeah.
Hot sauce.
What in there? How do you tell people in there how to cook a whole turkey?
Oh, man, that's a can of worms right there. So I tell people not to, and that's my opinion.
You don't throw them a single bone. You don't throw them a single.
There's one.
Because there's certain. Let me tell you something. You can't stop people from wanting to try it. So why not help them out?
Right.
I see right away. You talk about how to part a turkey out.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a whole section in there how to piece a breast out into three distinct parts. An upper lobe, a bottom lobe, and then the tenderloin. And all of those, I think, have really distinct uses too. You can, and each one feed, 2 to 4 people. And so they have very specific uses. You can also cook a breast whole. My opinion.
One sec, because
go.
you need to, it's too late to edit that book.
I think so.
You're into treacherous territory using that word lobe.
Why is that?
Well, because we went into this deep one time. If you get into the poultry business, a breast is 2.
2 lobes, right?
Right.
A lobe, if you tell a poultry man a chicken breast, that poultry man he's got 2 lobes.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell someone a human breast, they don't think there's 2, they think of 1. If you tell them a chicken breast, that's comprised of 2 lobes.
Yeah.
So with you introducing upper lobe and lower lobe, you're going to get yourself in trouble with poultry men.
A risk I can take, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean,
You're gonna face him down.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Bo Pilgrim coming after my ass. I don't know. I'm fine. Whatever. Back to the whole turkey, though. I mean, it really comes down to what I wanted to put in here as far as recipes, and I addressed that, and I've seen your recipe for a whole turkey, and I have a dear friend who swears by cooking a whole turkey, and it's so funny because he always makes this motion. He's like, "No, you got to put the stuffing in hot," and then he makes this insertion movement for the people just listening. Yes, it's just like into the cavity, which I hope is the right term. Of the bird, he's like, "No, you got to put the stuffing in hot," and I'm like, my job, I think, is to tell people how to achieve the best results in the easiest way, and I think that you're playing with fire a bit and trying to cook turkeys whole.
But you can't stop people from wanting to cook a whole turkey.
I don't tell them not to. I give them alternatives. There's a chapter in here on breasts. There's a chapter on necks, wings, offal, and skin. There's a chapter on leg quarters, and there's a chapter called celebrations. So the celebrations addresses that issue. So what it is I'm not trying to stop people from cooking the whole bird, because what they want to do is they want to celebrate that whole bird. You're cooking a whole turkey.
Yeah.
You're serving a bunch of people.
But it's like one of the worst ways to introduce someone who's never eaten wild turkey to wild turkey.
I view it like this. Let's say you have a teenager.
You know?
Let's say you have a teenager and you're like, chastity's the best. Chastity's the best. And you're like, but what if though? I don't even want to talk about it. Chastity's the best. Chastity's safest. Yeah, but what? No. Chastity.
I'm not telling.
They want to cook whole turkeys.
That is wonderful. This is not the only cookbook for turkeys right here. It is not.
Well, I think people get used to cooking domestic turkeys whole.
Yes.
And they want to go and do it to a wild turkey. And it's a completely different beast.
Completely different. I present them options for
how to celebrate
cooking a whole bird, parted out, or in more impressive ways. You know, like this turkey Wellington, where you have the tenderloin, the liver, and the shredded leg meat encased in puff pastry.
Wow.
Ooh. And then or you make a Sunday gravy where you take the legs and you slow cook them, and then you take the breasts and you make braciole out of those. You roll them with some Parmesan.
I'm not familiar with that term.
It's a rolled. It's usually a pounded out piece of meat that's rolled.
What was the word?
Braciole.
Oh, okay. I thought you said okay. Yeah, I am.
Not
I didn't catch the
Brezola.
B.
Not Brezola.
Yeah.
Braciole.
Yep.
Braciole.
No, I'm with you.
And then it's usually stuffed with parsley, Parmesan, garlic, things like that. And then you can take some slices off the breast and do that. So at this point, you can take a wing, you can take a leg, you can take a little bit of the breast, and you can cook it and you can present it in this, impressive way. And you can be like, hey, look, I cooked a whole bird. But it's reducing their risk at Thanksgiving.
Of screwing their whole turkey.
Overcooking the breast, undercooking the legs.
I want to clarify a point here. I don't do it. I used to want to do it all the time.
Right.
But not only that, at Thanksgiving, I don't make turkey.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'd have a turkey dish.
Yeah.
But I just make whatever I think is the best thing in my freezer.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually more in keeping with that tradition.
Absolutely.
They were like, we talked about this 100 times. Historians don't even think they were eating turkey.
Yeah. Talk about that.
So, like, I get it. I know anymore now not to do it, but I respect the process.
Like I said,
and I'm not dogging on your book for not putting
No.
it
I'm not going to whole turkey shame anybody. But like I said, there's other ways to go about it. And it's the same thing with plucking and skinning. It's like I know a lot of people want to skin their bird. They've always skinned a bird. They don't want to take the time to pluck a bird. And so I present both methods and then go over what are the benefits and the drawbacks from doing either.
Walk me through what you say in there.
Okay. Well, if you're gonna take the breasts and pound them out into cutlets, paillards, which is like basically a very thinly sliced slice of breast that you grill very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wonderful. Like, and there's some, I think some very good methods for grilling turkey, thin sliced turkey breasts in there. There's a real trick to it. Or breaded and fried turkey breast. Not like fried turkey strips, but like a thin cutlet, a schnitzel.
Yep.
If you're going to do that, and then you're going to maybe just slow cook and shred your legs, then I think that there is a case to be made for skinning your bird.
Mm-hmm.
Expedience, heat, things like that.
Yeah, if you're making schnitzel, that skin's not going to...
No, not at all. And if that's the way
There's
you've
nothing
always
you're gonna
done
do
it,
with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I in the first chapter when we go over, you got a dead bird on the ground. Are you skinning it? Are you plucking it? And then we actually came up with a Venn diagram of everybody that I hunted with, and we tried to integrate whether they had beards, because there was almost a connection there. If they always skinned their turkeys and always plucked their turkeys, and if they had a beard, if that makes any sense.
That makes total sense.
That should be
a lot
like
of
another
pictures of
taking a
Cal
poll.
walking out of the woods with a plucked turkey.
Yeah.
You like to get them done right away.
It was
Oh
about,
yeah, man.
it was
Plus,
about-
if for people who are intimidated plucking a bird of any kind, turkey's the easiest bird to
Yeah.
pluck by far and away.
Mm-hmm.
I can pluck a turkey twice as fast as a mallard.
If you got a few of them to pluck too, do you get into this in your book? If you got a few of them to pluck, get that jug of hot water going.
Oh, scalding.
Oh my God, it's so nice, man.
Yeah.
They look so good when you do
Does that affect the skin?
No.
Does it cook? No. Okay.
No, it just helps.
It ever so slightly puckers the skin up, like tightens the skin up, but it has no. It's like I would never do it for one, because by the time you everything just by the time you heat all the damn water up, you could have plucked a turkey.
Yeah.
But if you have like a couple guys and you get a few birds and you get that jug of water going, one, cleanup is nice because a wet feather, they don't blow anywhere.
Right.
All those feathers are going in the trash bin. And two, they just come out beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Did you, since we're on the topic of skin, you and I were talking like around 4th of July, I was making turkey wings, which is a thing I experiment with every other year probably.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at right now on it?
Still back to the drawing board on like making because they're a giant wing, they're super fun at outdoor barbecues and stuff to see people chewing on them, and kids think they're super awesome and everything. But I had some. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it's the skin. So that's my question: is like, did you nail turkey skin, wild turkey skin,
On the wings or just by itself?
just by itself, like being able to eat wild turkey skin in a enjoyable way?
I got one recipe in there for just taking it, cutting it into strips, and there's a Spanish dish called papas bravas, and it's basically French fries and served with a chili sauce and some mayonnaise, and then it's sprinkled in there with fried turkey skin and then coarse salt.
You cubing that skin up.
Like slicing it real thin, into little strips, little pieces.
You ever done that with salmon skin? That's
Yes,
pretty damn good.
yes,
man.
yes. No, it
It's
came
gotta be
out
a
great.
fresh
A little
salmon.
chewy for sure, but I kind of enjoy it, especially in contrast with a tender potato.
What size strip?
Oh, let's say like a thick matchstick.
Okay. You know the chef Jack Pepin? Jacques Pepin.
Well, here's a funny story. So we go to Connecticut for the last hunt in this book. Okay. And I killed a turkey on the first day. And the next day, our host, Dan Miser, he's a chef up there.
His last name's Miser.
Uh-huh.
That's a tough one.
He's a wonderful human being.
Is he
And
Miser?
they call him the mayor because everybody, he just, he walks in anywhere and they're like, hey, he's like, he owns like 5 restaurants up there. Really cool guy. And we're kind of winding down for our season. We're done. I've gotten a turkey in every one of the spots, Georgia, Texas, Oregon, and now Connecticut. And it's time for kind of a wind down celebratory dinner. And he's like, yeah, some neighbors are coming over.
And you're cooking.
I'm cooking dinner. I'm on deck for cooking dinner that night. And he's like, Jacques coming over. And by Jacques, he means
Jack Pepin.
Jacques Pepin is coming over for dinner, which is horrifying. I cannot begin to tell you the amount of stress.
That's one of the only people I'd be intimidated by.
I mean, I don't know who. I mean, I don't know. You could probably think of someone else, but this is the man. This man was Charles de Gaulle's personal chef. This man turned down being JFK's chef. This man's father was in the French Resistance. He co-hosted a show with Julia Child for 20-something years. I mean, he is. I mean, one of the most impressive humans.
I stole his turkey galantine recipe.
Yeah, I cooked dinner for him. And it was, I mean, I think it came out well. He was kind. His poodle, Gaston, sat in his lap the whole time.
You have to tell me that.
And, oh, no. It was amazing.
Lap.
It sat, and he
Dude, I got on a plane the other day, and there's this gal I'm getting on. There's this gal in first class. She's got 2 first class seats, and one of the first class seats, she's got a dog box buckled into the seat.
Oh, just in case.
Jeez.
This worked. This absolutely worked. He was the kindest, sweetest person.
What was he doing? You said he was.
Oh, he would feed the poodle
Really?
a little bit.
No, he fed the dog your food.
What more would you expect from a world-class French?
Not
I
like
expect him to eat that.
he's not going to be waving a machete around like you.
There was also some.
I'm so mad now. I'm gonna pick it back up again. He fed your food to a dog in his lap. Jack Pepin.
This is going in a way different direction than it should. There was also a little bit of like grilled boar that I brought up, and he like a little scrap of that. He gave it to the dog.
He's sitting there eating with a dog in his lap.
It's Jacques Pepin, man.
Listen,
he was
I don't
Charles
like
de Gaulle's personal chef. He can do whatever
It just
the hell
surprises
he
me because I would
wants.
expect him to have better table manners.
It worked. I don't care. I was cooking. Nobody cared. Jacques. I mean, it was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was on brand, and I did the Wellington for him.
Did he have anything to say about your meal?
Oh, he was
Like dog seems to like it.
Jesse, you open up a can of worms.
I sure did.
As he laughed, well, my dog liked it.
He was very complimentary and kind, and I sat there and I poured wine for him all night and sat right next to him. We talked about chicken because he's from Brest in France, and they're famous for their chickens. And we talked about every part of the chicken and killing chickens, the best way to kill a chicken, and
What's the best way to kill a chicken?
oh yeah, there was some. Oh gosh, I was deep into the
That little
wine.
brainer.
Yep,
Yeah.
that was it.
Duck hunters use them.
Yeah, this was a knife, and I think roof of the mouth, if I remember
Right,
correctly.
this thing right here.
Yeah, that would have worked. It was
like an
amazing. So
ostrich
yeah,
brainer.
so an interesting way to loop that back is that Jacques Pepin actually was at the final meal that
No
I present
kidding.
in the book.
That's
Why did
so
I bring up
cool.
Jack Pepin?
I just think it's hilarious how it was just kind of like dropped in your lap, right? Like you weren't cooking
dog.
for him or the dog.
Yeah.
He just showed up.
Well, yeah, there's a little bit of notice, enough to just instigate a lot of anxiety. And
Why did I bring up Jack Pepin?
I don't know.
We were talking
Galantine
about
or
turkey skin. I want to know if
turkey
there's
skin.
other stuff.
Or maybe the
Oh,
Galantine.
he's the
You
one that
stole
turned me
one of
on to.
his,
He's the one that turned me on to cooking
recipes.
salmon skin.
Oh, okay.
But this is something I was going to bring up with you earlier. One, salmon skin's good when it's fresh.
Mhm.
Coming out of a freezer, like salmon skin does not like a freezer.
It probably rancidifies, gets fishy.
ugh, yeah, it hates a freezer. But nice fresh salmon. If you ever, for you listeners out there, if you're fresh salmon, take the skin and cut it into little French fry strips, and just do them in olive oil. Damn, it's good.
Well, did you ever do
Skanky
the,
salmon that's been in your freezer 6 months is not good. And that was the point I was going to bring up. If you're cooking skanky fish, remember we're talking about the bubble factor? The skankier the fish is, longer you leave it in a fryer. If you look like frying primo good fresh fish, you can leave it in longer. But when you fry it long, you're frying the skank out of it. You know what I'm talking about?
Do you agree, Jesse?
I'm sorry, I just got hung up on that last sentence.
Did you ever
I'm
try the
telling you.
halibut skin?
Yeah, I did try halibut. Fresh
That
halibut
is
skin.
good.
Yeah, fresh halibut skin, but halibut skin.
Sea lice all
Hates
stuck
the-
to it.
Yeah, it
No,
does.
so yeah, you take your
Definitely
fillet
want
knife, right?
de-slime it.
Like the backside of your fillet knife, and just scrape that
Scrape
slime off of there.
Mm.
And
You
then
gotta
you
do a
fry
lot of
that,
that.
and put coarse salt on it, and then put that on like a Caesar salad. Holy shit,
Yeah,
that's
no,
good.
that is good.
Don't do that with halibut that's been in the freezer.
No,
though.
no, I don't. Well, I quit freezing. I don't freeze
I don't
any
like
skin
skin
on
on-
fish
yeah.
anymore, man, because it skanks.
Salmon?
It's
I
skanks?
I skin them if I'm gonna freeze.
Oh, really?
Well, no, that's not true. No, you're right. But I eat them when I come home. When I come home from Alaska,
Yeah.
I eat them and give them away, and I don't.
You don't want it in there for
like in a
6
month or two.
months.
Salmon's gone.
Yeah.
Salmon in a month or two. I've given it away or I've eaten it.
Yep.
I just found a couple fillets that I just through freezer mismanagement, and I smoked them.
Yeah.
I smoked them skin on. Smoked them
Yep.
skin on. But Cal, you're thinking about scraping. You look at a halibut, it looks so beautiful and shiny and everything, and you
That
run the back of your knife
slime.
over it, and it comes
Oh,
off
yeah.
like the nastiest.
Oh, it's like oil, like
black
Yeah.
slime. It's hard to get off stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're like, damn. The fact that I've been like freezing that junk
Yep.
without now we just scrape the dickens out of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they still look pretty. You know.
So what about like skin on like a turkey thigh
Yeah.
and being able to bite through that skin?
Yeah, it's going to require a decent amount of cooking. You know, a confit is a really good method
Yeah.
where you're going to dry brine it first.
Okay, lay this one out for me.
A confit is an excellent way to do that. So you're gonna season it real well with salt, and I have a little seasoning mix in there. It's gonna be salt and some kind of citrus zest, a little garlic, a pinch of sugar. You season it, kind of cure it a little bit, and then you cook it very slowly in fat. That could be
A whole drummy.
I would say a whole leg quarter.
So thigh drummy. Yep.
Connected, and then you cook that until it's tender. A very common method for doing all kinds of things. You know, you can confit rabbit, you can confit beef ribs, you can confit famously duck legs. And then you would take that out and apply heat to it, just like we did yesterday with the pig leg. You know, you can throw it on the grill, you can put it in a hot oven, you can even deep fry it. You know, I mean, if you want to just kind of go over the top, but basically you can render that skin out, but it's going to require a lot of low and slow, gentle cooking on there. And you still might have a little bit of chew. When I was doing the testing, I had some good results. So the whole approach I took for what I call the holiday turkey is I confit the legs in that way. And it was a Jake. It was a young bird. Skin on, and then cooked those slowly, and then brought those back in the oven, got the skin browned on that, came out beautifully, and then roasted the breast separately.
Got it.
And that
You got the
came
best
out,
of the best.
It came out great, and simultaneously making a sauce, a gravy, with liquid in the pot with the breast skin side up. So the skin's getting browned, and then the liquid underneath is just getting all the flavor from the breast, and then you just puree that instead of thicken it. So it's got the vegetables, and it came out great. And it's just like another way to approach the whole turkey. I mean, it's a hyper Thanksgiving style meal right there. You've got, you know, all these flavors of celery and sage, things like that you associate with
all the
that
stuff
holiday.
the pilgrims like.
Loved them. They just loved rosemary in every garden. And then you get the legs cooked nicely too, but the legs took way longer, you know. But yeah, I had some luck with it, but honestly, I am mostly skinning birds. For what I'm gonna do, a lot of cutlets, a lot of the paillards, the grilled cutlets, and a lot of fried, and then I like to generate broth and shredded meat off of legs a lot, so I will crock pot that. Shred the meat, take that broth, use that for whatever purposes I need that for, and have that shredded meat set aside. I don't really need the skin at that point. Also, mostly hunting in Texas, it's hot, real easy to just get in there and zip that bird and get it done. And I'll go in and I'll skin the wings out, and that is a pain in the ass.
It is. It's tough.
I came to the realization it's like plucking and skinning. There's no easy route around those. I'm sorry, the wings. Did I say the wings?
Yeah.
Around the wings. It's like it's hard either way.
Skinning the wings is like skinning a squirrel.
Yeah,
it's like
rough.
tough.
Yeah, and yeah, and then plucking them is requires some force as well. But you know, go in and do that.
Not when you give them a dunk.
Yeah, it's
You
a
want to
great
talk about
idea.
a nice wing, man. It looks pretty. Give it a dunk. You can pluck it out to the bitter end.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about what you're going to do with a bird differently if you shoot a Jake versus a big old limb hanger?
Yeah. You could orient more towards like whole leg quarters, whole roasted breasts, honestly, the best success. I mean, I want to finish out your question now, but yeah, just it's more tender, you know. And so I think like same thing with the hog. The younger the animal, the smaller the animal, the bigger the cut.
Yep.
You know, and so you can do more roasts and things like that. Big old bird. I killed a 25-pound tom in a Rio in Texas. And
Wow.
weighed it on digital scale. He was a monster.
For Texas.
Yeah.
I bet I know what he was hanging out nearby.
What's that?
Corn
A
feed.
pound of that weight was corn.
He wasn't near corn feed. I mean, like real close. He was a big old boy.
Yeah.
I shot a banded turkey one time. The biologist told me it was either 5.5 or 6.5 years old.
Holy
No kidding.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Bust out the old crock pot for that plug. Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was not to go off on a tangent. Whatever. It took me forever to call this bird in. I killed him. Actually, my gun misfired. I had to load another shell. Killed the bird, and then was just like ecstatic. Walked over there and saw a big old metal leg band on him, and was just like, "What?" And a friend of mine was a game warden. I called him up, and I'm like, "Guess what?" And he's like, "That's cool." I got to talk.
How far away was it tagged?
3/4 of a mile.
So in 5.5 years, he didn't make it far.
Yeah, no. He was in a county that doesn't have huge turkey population, southeast Austin.
Gun misfired. Are you sure it wasn't user error?
Oh, it's 100% user error.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. Oh, yeah.
That turkey might have just said, "I've been around so long, I've
Yeah,
had
it was
enough."
like,
A lot of my I've had
Try
I've had a
again.
lot of misfires.
Try again.
I've had a lot of misfires of
Yeah.
wound up being like that I didn't do something.
oh no. That was all my fault. Yeah, I didn't let the bolt just drive it home. I didn't. Yeah,
Because you're trying to be quiet.
Yeah.
Do you know how many turkeys have not been killed by people trying to be quiet?
Oh,
Because you're like you ease that slide forward,
Yeah,
you know, or
can't do
you're
that.
like you're hunting with a pump. You kind of go,
no. I'll never make that mistake
yeah,
again.
and you don't load the pin.
He gave
Run
me
it
a
like you
second
stole
chance.
I've had that happen so many times. You just don't take. You just don't. When you're hunting with a semi, just whooshing.
Yeah.
Or you'll try to do it quiet, and then you like fidget with it, trying to get it to do that final little ka-ding.
Now that scarred me. Yeah. And then, but I got to talk to 2 different biologists, and they said that when he was tagged, he was either 2.5 or 3.5, and it was 3 years prior.
Well, they tagged him as an adult.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
What were
really
they? What
cool.
were they working on?
I don't know. It was in it. Yeah, it was in probably just population out there because it's one of Texas only has a few one gobbler counties. It's like a April season only, and that was in one of those counties. And so I would assume just population status.
You want to know something interesting about tagging? Years ago, I butchered a soft shell turtle out of the Yellowstone, and it had a tag on it, pinched into its shell. I could never find. Showed it around, asked around, never found who the hell. It was like a picture, like a, I can't even describe it, like a staple.
Did you call the grade schools?
No, but it's real official looking. It didn't look like someone just said, "I'm gonna hang this whatever on a turtle." You know, it was like pinched into its shell, and it just had like a couple numbers. And I don't know.
Did
I mean,
you
who knows
call-
where that thing came from?
Fish and Wildlife Service?
Yeah.
It was federal.
No, I showed people from the state trying to say, "You ever seen a tag
Yeah.
like that?"
That's weird.
Yeah, could never find it.
You know what's been kind of fun is because I'm basing this off of observation and past, I'd say a partial criticism of yours regarding our guest
on.
Jesse here, where because he and I haven't hunted
I
together.
criticized him in the past.
Yes,
Oh,
he and I
Sorry.
haven't hunted together, but you're like I said, like more observation, soft criticism is Jesse has no fun hunting, right?
Whoa.
Like on the hogs, it's like Jesse's here to get the hog
Oh,
and then like get to work,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll take that. Skinning hogs is fun.
But like all of his turkey stories is very plain to see that he has a lot of fun hunting turkeys.
Well, you enjoy the pursuit.
I do, and I think that's. I mean, a lot of by the end of the book, I've tried to make that apparent. It's like it's taught me a lot about patience and why, and the motivation. also I got to go to some beautiful places, and I got to travel. I am typically stuck in Texas, not for any reason beyond my own fault, but
This is where you live.
I just don't travel to hunt a lot, and this got me out, into very different locations. Eastern Oregon was 3 feet of snow on the ground. The swamps of Georgia, and then Connecticut, which was incredible because you're hunting 12-acre property here, 9-acre property there, and then you're rolling
12 billion ticks.
we were 20 miles from Lyme, which was just disturbing.
Oh, like the actual line.
Yeah,
I got
the
you.
city,
Yeah.
or on just this vast amount of public land. We had this weird poacher run in up there. I had a guy come and shoot a turkey that I was like 30 seconds away from. It's just some weird stuff. I mean,
Ooh,
but
go into that. What happened?
Like you were
there?
calling a bird and another guy shot it?
yeah, it was really weird. So you have to have permission, on a daily permission to hunt anywhere in Connecticut from the landowner on a different piece of paper. And it's very, very regulated. So if you're going to hunt 3 different properties, you got to have 3 different permission slips per day, even if it's like you're the guy. Like,
Like if a farmer says, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, you got to fill out this little permission slip.
Really?
But
Even his nephew does.
as far as I know, that's what we were doing.
Huh.
Yeah, we were every morning, paperwork time. And so we were,
Because he was enrolled in the public access program?
no, this
Just
is
regular old
even to
hunting.
be on private land. Yeah.
Huh,
Yeah.
okay.
We were, our host.
A lot of people are going to write in about this.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I call it, the comment section. I look forward to it.
Well, there's you can post your property. It says this is by written permission only,
Yeah. Okay.
and if you get caught on there without written permission, you're trespassing.
Go on.
Even our host asked, we were filling out permission slips daily to hunt with him.
Okay.
We were, that day, we were rolling around and we were kind of alternating between public land, and we rolled to this big area of public land. And right off the trail, there's a bunch of feathers like stuck into the ground, turkey feathers stuck into the ground, like arrayed. It was like kind of witchy, like real weird.
Or little kitty.
What do you mean?
Little kids do stuff like that. And it seems like witches did it.
Somebody killed a turkey and
Yeah.
was like, hey, I killed a turkey.
Yeah.
That was on public. We get to the boundary of that, and we have permission to hunt the orchard beyond that boundary. And immediately we start hearing gobblers. There's 3 monsters just in this field. Oh, just doing that. Not budging at all. We split up,
Why?
and he was going to go around to the other side of this field.
Because
in
trying
case-
to bushwhack them.
Yeah, or if they moved off that way.
Hmm.
And I stayed on one side. I had a big open area between me and that field.
And
there
you're
was
trying to
one-
bushwhack them.
I tried to bushwhack. There's one pine tree. I belly crawled about 200 yards. The whole time I'm like, Lyme is 20 miles from here. And I belly crawled and I got up on them. And those birds just, they had some hens on them, and they were not moving. And they went quiet, and I would yelp every 20 minutes, and they just totally went quiet, and they moved off into the brush. And then after about an hour or so, they fire back up, and the 3 of them in unison are every time they're doing. That's it. Thank you. I'm going to point, and you're going to make that sound.
I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to do it where it's 3 of them doing it.
Yeah. So I would yelp, and they would hammer back, and they're in this hollow, and this noise is just reverberating through this little valley.
Yeah, no, I'm getting excited.
But we're on private at this point, and we're bordered on one side by a land trust. No hunting allowed there.
Mm-hmm.
They get far enough up into the woods that I am able to extricate where they can't see me, and I do a wide loop, and I try to come up on the side of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do, and then I get about 150 yards, and I start talking to them, and every time they're
Really?
every time.
And right
But
about
they're
now,
not moving. But they're in this little hollow, and there's this rock wall. If you've ever been to Connecticut,
Oh, yeah, they
there
all
are
throw the rocks in the wall?
rock walls everywhere.
Yeah, the poet laureate Robert Frost has a whole
Mhm.
poem about that.
It's
Like an old stone savage.
So eventually I get on the opposite side of this rock wall and start creeping up on them, and I'm calling and they're calling back the whole time, but not budging.
You're thinking you're just gonna snake your barrel over the top of that rock or through that
Maybe
rock.
through
it,
yeah.
Pull
100%.
one rock out and slide the barrel.
and you know, I'm like, this is gonna happen, and two of these guys are big. I mean, the third one is not a Jake. I mean, they're great looking birds. Okay, granted, I was speaking of, you know, just like I'm by myself. I got a photographer with me.
Yeah.
You know, Jody's with me. We're creeping up along this rock wall. We're probably not 40, 50 yards from the point where we're going to poke over and seal this deal.
Just start shooting, yeah.
And a shotgun fires up the hill and hits a tree about 30 yards in front of us. The pattern hits up. Somebody shot up. And I am like, what just happened? So the other guy that's hunting with us that had circled around, but I'd been texting with him, and he had since left to chase another gobbler that he had heard. So he wasn't in the area.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, that's him. He just did that. I'm a little pissed that he didn't communicate where he was, and also that he shot at us. So I start calling his name and I hear nothing. And I'm like, hey. And I hear, and I'm like, oh, well, it's turkey flapping. It wasn't it was a person running
Away.
No shit.
What?
Yeah. And so I never saw the person. It's this.
Did he kill the turkey?
Honestly, I left. I just got out of there. I couldn't see. I like poked over and I looked down into that hall. There was no dead bird that I could see.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear my friend, the guy that was with us. I didn't know where he was. And I was like, and somebody just shot at us basically. And I was like, I'm leaving. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And we left. And we went back and we met the guy at the boundary of public and private that we had the access to. And he was like, absolutely, that is a land trust. There's no hunting. Somebody was over there, heard these birds hammering. I mean, for an hour.
And it was just more than they could stand.
It was more than they could stand.
Did you ever hear that guy call at all?
No, but I mean, if you ever heard me call, you know it's not a hen. Like, there is
I'm saying the guy that shot.
Just
I'm saying the guy that shot.
He never called. No.
He was slipping in. He thought it was too good to be true.
But you're saying had he heard you, he would have known there was another person.
He
right
was
there.
either brazen or an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Or both.
This story
That'd be a brazen idiot.
I want to just clarify that every part of this story is 100% true. Like this, and
I'm
I was
not hearing
just
any
like,
part. There's no
what
that story's not the
is-
kind of story where I'm like, that's not true.
And then a friend of this guy, the guy that I was hunting with, the local, calls him in a little while later and said that a couple that was walking at the land trust saw a guy with a shotgun. They called the cops and they came and arrested some dude and he was in there and he had a bag, but we don't know if he had his camo. I never got any follow up on it.
Why don't you get some follow-up?
Yeah, what's in the bag?
Put that in the book.
Yeah.
You could have an
I know.
appendix.
Dying
Yeah.
to know what's in the bag.
It was very mysterious, very strange. It ended really weird. And, you know, that was like midday and I was just like, I don't even know where to go from here, you know? And it's also, I'm coming from Texas, you know, and it's just like, there's private land. There's very little public land turkey hunting in Texas. I mean, it's minuscule. And then for these boundaries and all this stuff to exist, and I'm very out of my element and just like also just confounded by all of these things that have happened. That there's like public land, no hunting, private land, yes, hunting with permission, public
land, no
yes,
hunting,
yes,
public
hunting.
land, yes, hunting.
With weird display of turkey, and then you know, this mysterious person that just dropped in and tried.
Did you write about this in your book?
It's all in there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you include that he got arrested?
Yeah.
Oh.
Supposedly. I mean, that's you know, that's a third hand that's what happened.
You
The
should
game wardens and-
hire a researcher to find out what happened to that guy.
Yeah, I would love to know. Yeah, but I mean, it was very interesting. We also had somebody fair and square scooped us in Oregon. You know, like we were we moved off of a place that we thought that a bird would be. We had seen one the day before, and we called and never heard anything. And then we moved off, and that bird was on his way the whole time. Some kid and his girlfriend, like teens, this kid's probably 16. He rolled in right after us, started like calling to this bird.
Slammed the car door. And
He got really bad crow call. I was like, "What is that?" If I am judging your calling, it's bad.
Yeah, but when you're trying to shot gobble, it doesn't matter what it sounds like.
Yeah, and then we start like calling, and he's answering both of us, and then it's just boom, and I was like, "Oh man, he got us! He got us!"
Yeah,
he throws that bird on his back. When we just walked out, and we had to walk out the same road, him and his girlfriend. He's got this bird on his back. Doesn't even turn around, just throws his hand up and waves at us. Just like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm pretty sure she shot it. And I was just like, you little son of a bitch. Like, you're having a good day, man. Very well done,
You should say, I got some ideas how you can cook that bird.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Don't whole cook it.
Yeah. It stung in the moment, but it feels a lot better now. I'm willing to let him have that.
That's
bird.
great.
It was cool.
That's
but
great.
just like the spectrum of experiences between private. We started off in private in Texas, and then massive public stretches in Oregon, and then a weird mix of both in Connecticut, and having these interactions that were fair to scary.
Yeah.
Out there too, but. It was interesting, but to circle back in a long fashion, I love it. I just love it. It's spring. It's beautiful. It's fun. But I love eating them the most. That's really what drives it for me.
Mm-hmm.
To your point, Cal.
That's right.
I just love eating them. My birthday's in May. I share a birthday with Colonel Tom Kelly.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. And that's my fried turkey every birthday. Fried turkey and dewberry cobbler. That's my thing.
Dang.
That's cool.
What do you got to get for a big old shiny book like this?
That's $50.
$50.
Yeah, just like the hog book.
That's
115 recipes, 370 odd pages. Compelling, exciting stories.
Yeah, it's like 33 cents a recipe.
That's a good math, man. Wow. All right.
You can get it at the MeatEater website.
There was another interesting observation with our guest here is when you're asking about hogs, he's like real sheepish about the hogs that he prefers to shoot. He's like, he's trying to select for pregnant sows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if that's just packaged meat and labeled as something in the grocery store, that's just what people want. There's no other thought put into it, right? Like Easter lamb, veal, it's like, yeah.
It's called The Turkey Book, A Chef's Journey of Hunting and Cooking America's Bird. Jesse Griffiths. Photography by Jody Horton and Sam Everett.
Yeah, we had 2 photographers on this one. It was pretty fun.
And on the back, I see you got, it's cool because you got a little thing that's going to puzzle most people. There's a gobbler working a decoy.
Yeah. And didn't shoot a single turkey over decoy last spring.
And it's got a cloth cover. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's like a gift. It'd be a great gift book because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's very, very well done.
Thank you.
It's very tasteful. It's very elegant.
Jesse and I were talking. Sam Everett, who you know, Steve, my good buddy, has some phenomenal stuff in there.
Yeah, there's a couple photos in there where he got, hunters and birds, which is so difficult. I have a lot of respect for, especially like in the people in the video realm that are able to capture that. And then he was able to position himself just as being such a great hunter. He grew up, he's a big mule deer hunter and a really wonderful guy. And also just really killed it on the food photography that he did. He was with us in Georgia and Oregon. And then Jody, who's the photographer for my first 2 books, did Texas and also went to Connecticut. And then all the interim food photography we did in his studio. All the other recipes, but
a lot of tattoos in here.
It's heavy on photography.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
What's that called when people make noises and people listen to it?
ASMR.
Yeah, listen to this. Listen to this.
That's really funny.
Listen to this cover, dude. You getting that, Phil?
Oh, that's really good.
A nice cloth
I'll
cover.
turn it up a little bit in the edit.
Turn it up loud. listen to that.
Almost a Wes Anderson feel to the
The cloth cover.
I love
Layout.
that.
Beautiful.
I love that. I think
and
it's
the
a good
colors.
perspective.
Yeah.
No, it is. You thumb through it, and it's gorgeous, man. It's a great celebration of a great celebration of a great bird. All kinds of beautiful recipes. Very, very clear descriptions how to do stuff. Winning recipes. How to use all of your bird. Yeah, man, it's beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the hog book's such a work of art. It's cool to do this one.
I appreciate that. We're
I challenge you to do a book this big on woodcocks.
Oh yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
The woodcock book.
We've got a great we've got a bundle going with NWTF right now too. You can get a year membership and the book for at a $20 savings.
Oh, good deal.
And so even if you have a membership, it'll renew it automatically for a year. And so they've been really supportive, which has been great. And been able to try a little bit of membership to them and help them out. Help them out. They've been do so much. And we've really appreciated their.
If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be writing no books about turkeys.
That's right. That's absolutely
You'd be
right.
writing. You'd be like writing a book about a dodo if it wasn't for them. Yeah, and you can go buy the book at themeateater.com, correct?
Yep.
Beautiful book. Such a nice gift. If you know someone that likes to hunt turkeys, I don't know, Father's Day, whatever, it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous work of art. So check out The Turkey Book, A Chef's Journey of Hunting and Cooking America's Bird by Jesse Griffiths, who is just such a nice guy, wonderful chef, generous dude, loves wildlife, great guy to support. The Turkey Book. Get it now.
Gobble, gobble, Martha Stewart. Gobble, gobble, Martha Stewart. Gobble, gobble, Martha Stewart. Gobble, gobble, Martha Stewart. I'm a gangster bird. I was made for these streets. I say 2 spurs up when I see the police. No cap, now you shook, cause I'm out on the lam. But this turkey's just too real to wind up like that ham. Gobble, gobble, Martha Stewart. What you gonna do now? I'm the king of the streets, and I'm running this town. Call me Hercules, cause I'm just too strong. Try to throw me in the oven, I'm gonna go off. Turks, mount up and let's ride. Hercules